Morning, Pete, North Las Vegas. We are back out here again. Do some further function testing on this M4A1 that I put together. This is probably one of my finest Frankenstein builds ever. There's virtually hardly any parts on this rifle that come from the same manufacturer. So if you missed the build series and the last time I had this thing out, I'll go over it again real quick. Brownell's SOCOM profile, 16-inch, not the correct 14.5-inch. Fulton Armory Colt side sling, Midwest Industries quad, Aero Precision upper, Palmetto State Armory lower, Geisley trigger, selector, Aero Precision pins again, DS Arms carry handle, BCM buffer tube and assembly, Prudent American Technology, which I believe recently bought out P&S, and they are a supplier of Colt, so let's just call this a Colt waffle. And then I'm also using a Wilson Combat bolt carrier group. Sons of Liberty A2 grip, and a recent addition since the last time I was out here is this Magpul MS1. You know, not the best, not the worst. Okay, so that's the rifle. Last time we had this carbine out, we determined that the barrel is very accurate. Just to throw a number out there, somewhere between 1 and 2 MOA would be my guess. The issue I had with this rifle, even though it functioned flawlessly, it fed, it extracted, ejected, did everything like it was supposed to, but what was happening was the shell casings were coming out at 1 o'clock, and I went back and watched the video I did when I first function tested this, and some of the brass was actually bouncing off the back of this delta ring. And so if this thing could have ejected at 12 o'clock, it would have, but it looked like most of the rounds were coming out around 1:30 maybe. That's generally an indication of overgassing. Not always, but most of the time. There's a lot of things that affect how the brass comes out of there besides just gassing. If you're familiar with the AR platform, you know that extractor, ejector, type of buffer, spring. I mean, I'm just rattling off a few things that can shoot this brass out and not be directly related to gassing, but in this carbine's case, I do think it's a function of gassing. So we're going to try some different buffers today, and what I have installed in right now is an H1. What I came out here with about a week and a half ago was just a standard carbine buffer. So right now I have an H1 installed, and I came out here with some other buffers. Well, another buffer. I have an H2 in case the H1 doesn't get things where I want it. If you're not familiar with different buffer weights, the standard buffer is 3 ounces, an H1 is 3.8 ounces, an H2 is 4.7, and an H3 is 5.6. Now you can get even heavier buffers. There's a company online called heavybuffers.com, and he offers, I think this is maybe an H4 weight, a 6.5 ounce, but then he also has an extra heavy that comes in at 8.5 ounces. So if for some reason you need that kind of weight, I don't know what to say about that. If I have to go above an H2 to calm this thing down, I may just go to a SOP mod configuration and put an extended handguard on here, take this front sight base off, and maybe run an adjustable. So besides buffer weights and springs, there are some other options to tone this thing down besides an adjustable gas block. And I didn't mention this in the last video, but you can buy gas tubes with different internal diameters to change the amount of gas coming into this thing. I'm not going down that road. Either this gets taken care of with buffer weights and springs, or like I said, I'll go to a SOP mod configuration. We'll get rid of the front sight base and put an adjustable on there with an extended handguard so that you can't see the adjustable. All right, so let's do some shooting and see where we're at using an H1. Using the same ammunition I used a week and a half ago. And we're not shooting for any accuracy, although I do have some metal targets up on the hill about 200 yards. So we'll see if I can hit those, but I'm just out here function testing. All right, I have 3 rounds. First couple rounds just to blow out any excess oil. We'll see what happens on the 3rd round. Okay, that was a mixed bag. I had one that fell out in front of the table. I had one that went out at 3 o'clock, which is where I wanted it. And there was another one that kind of fell somewhere over here. I'll figure out where it went. All right, let's do 3 more rounds, see what happens. Okay, so I had 2 that went out at 3 o'clock. One of them fell kind of close to the table. The other one fell over here. And there's the one that went forward for some reason. So we'll get a few more rounds in this thing and see what happens. So we have 3 more ready to go. If I get similar results before I go to an H2 to see if that does anything, I'm going to try a different mag. And then if I get the same results with this mag, then we'll see what happens with an H2. Okay, it did better that time. I probably want to say 2:30, 3 o'clock, closer to 3. The last 2 went 3 o'clock, but the last round seems to just kind of be crawling out of the rifle. So I'm going to switch magazines and see if that stops. All right, we got the mag pull in, 3 rounds, and the wind has been picking up here lately, so if there's wind noise, I apologize. I don't have a sock on this GoPro. All right, so I'd say 230, 230 using a mag pull. I'm going to try the H2 just to see what happens. I'm kind of happy with the H1. It's still not spitting them out exactly where I want, but let's try the H2. H2, 4.7 ounces. All right, let's give it a whirl. Okay, H2 back on the metal mag. Okay, I'd say 230, close to 3, which seems a little odd. Went heavier on the buffer. Let's try the mag pull. All right, mag pull, 3 rounds, H2. So with the H2, it's still not quite 3 o'clock. It's still just a little bit forward, but the ejection pattern is getting very consistent. So I don't know if the rifle is just breaking in a little bit more or if the H2 is doing the trick. For now, I'm going to call it good. One other thing I did notice on the brass, since I put the H2 in, I noticed when I had the standard carbine in, the rims were getting chewed up a little bit more than they are now. And the H1, things got a little bit better, but now there's hardly any, there's not any real rim damage to the shell since I went to the H2. So it works fine with the H2. It holds back on the last round. Ejection pattern somewhere between 2:30 and 3 o'clock. About the same with both mags now. Whereas with the H1, the ejection pattern was acting a little bit different, especially on the last round using the metal mag than the Magpul. But now these are both performing the same. Like I said, ejection pattern and consistently landing in the same spot. So for today, I'm going to call this good. Now, I may experiment a little bit more in the future. I may buy a different spring, and we'll get with Springco and maybe try a different type of spring. But right now, I'm calling it good. It's not like acting like it's overly gassed anymore. It's still slightly over gassed, but I don't ever plan to run a can on this thing, so we're good. So Pete, North Las Vegas. Some of you guys that commented on the last video said that H2 would probably take care of it, and it did. Pete, North Las Vegas, over and out.